So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, you have to revise this lecture just after watching it, because if you just watch this lecture, these current affairs would quickly skip your memory. You need to retain them at least till your exams. Therefore, revision is extremely pertinent, extremely important. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes are shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. All right then, enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 3rd January, Saturday, and here is the topics list. Number one topic, which we have also talked about earlier, is Piprahwa Relics, because these Buddhist relics were recently inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi. Okay, so we'll talk about these relics. Okay, then topic number 2 is related to obtaining passport with criminal cases. So if you already have a criminal case against you pending, can you obtain a passport? Well, this is a legal question that was recently resolved by Supreme Court. We'll talk about this. Then topic number 3 is related to India's PRAGATI framework. PRAGATI platform, a tech initiative to improve infrastructure project delivery. And topic number 4 is related to Purchasing Managers Index. So these are the 4 topics. Topic number 1 is related to Art and Culture portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2 is related to Polity portion of your UPSC syllabus, particularly fundamental rights. Topic number 3 is related to Policy, Governance, Infrastructure, that portion of your UPSC syllabus. And topic number 4, Clear-Cut Economics portion of your UPSC syllabus. Okay, so these are the 4 topics. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is Piprahwa Relics. You see, let me give you a brief background of this entire situation. Okay, you all know that there are so many sacred relics that have been found by archaeologists all over India. Now, these different relics belong to different religions. Now, let's talk about Buddhist relics. Okay, there are certain relics that were found by archaeologists by digging up the earth that belong to Buddhist religion. These include sacred pendants, sacred bones of bodhisattvas, Buddha, many sacred relics that belong to that religion, which is called Buddhism. Now, when our colonizers were ruling over us, back then archaeological activities were committed or done by them, our British colonial masters, during the colonial rule. That was their job. Now, they excavated a lot of Buddhist sites and they have basically collected a lot of Buddhist relics. Now, one such collection of relics is known as Piprahwa Relics because it was collected from Piprahwa, which is in Uttar Pradesh, UP, very near to India-Nepal border. Okay, it was a famous ancient Buddhist site and many relics were excavated from there. Now, that particular site was a private property of someone. So he was instrumental in excavating those relics. He was a British citizen, by the way. So all those relics, most of those relics were put in Indian Museum in Kolkata, but 1/5 of those relics were taken away by that person to UK. Now that person claimed those relics because those were excavated from his private property. And as per the laws during the British rule, well, he could have taken those relics to UK. Then what happened? In 2013, his family, basically in need of money, decided to auction those relics. Now, India objected to that. India said that these relics are the cultural heritage of India and they should be returned safely back to India because it belongs to India's cultural heritage. It was taken away from India way back in 1898. India was successful in doing that. India brought Piprahwa relics and recently Prime Minister Modi inaugurated that showcasing of those relics. Okay, now in this news item we'll talk about all the legal provisions related to basically repatriation of antiquities, artifacts that were excavated from India and taken away from India so that we can preserve our cultural heritage. Okay, so let's talk about this Piprahwa relics. Okay, so Piprahwa relics. Okay, these are those relics, many sacred bones of Buddha or bodhisattvas, many artifacts, they were taken away. Now, what was in the news? PM Modi inaugurates exhibition, The Light and the Lotus, Relics of the Awakened One, the Buddha, in New Delhi to present Piprahwa gems, sacred Buddhist relics. Now, where were these relics excavated from? Are being displayed. Rai Pithora Cultural Complex in New Delhi. Exhibition open to public from Sunday following inauguration. Now, what was repatriated back to India? 349 gemstones, associated objects, which were originally excavated in 1898. 4/5 of those excavated relics were put in Indian Museum in Kolkata, but 1/5 were taken away by one private family. Okay, we'll talk about that family. From Buddhist stupa at Piprahwa village in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, now historical background. This was the excavation year, 1898. William Claxton Pepe, an English estate manager, unearthed the relics at a Buddhist stupa in Piprahwa. There was a stupa from where he retrieved those relics. Now, that particular estate was his private property. That is why he could retrieve those relics. The site is widely identified with ancient Kapilavastu. Many people believe that this is the ancient Kapilavastu. I mean, the place where Buddha was born, and he was the prince of that place. Okay, capital of Shakya Republic, where Prince Siddhartha lived before renunciation. Now, as per colonial legal framework, the colonial India had a law with respect to sacred or archaeological relics. Okay, under Indian Treasure Trove Act, the British Crown claimed the relics. So British Crown said these belong to us, not India. Most objects went to what is now Indian Museum, Kolkata, while about 1/5 remained with Pepe family. Okay. Now, Chris Pepe put the family portion up for auction. His descendant, William Claxton Pepe's. Okay, first in 2013 with a subsequent listing by Sotheby's Hong Kong estimating a company value of 100 million. So he put it up for auction and was ready to sell it for 100 million US dollars. Now, what was India's response then? India sent a legal notice. Ministry of Culture demanded immediate cessation of auction. No auction should be conducted, and these relics should be repatriated to India because they belong to the cultural heritage of India. Arguing that relics are inalienable religious and cultural heritage of India and the global Buddhist community. And if you are auctioning or basically possessing something that belongs to the entire community, well, that is a violation of international laws and various UN conventions. Archaeological artifacts can be kept in private possession, but if those archaeological artifacts belong to a particular community, belong to the cultural heritage of a particular community, as per UN conventions, you cannot keep it. Using this international law, these international conventions, India sent a legal notice. Okay. Content of the legal claim. Notice described the collection as excavated from Piprahwa Stupa, identified as Kapilavastu, Shakya capital, and emphasized their sacred character. And India emphasized that as per UN conventions, these relics are sacred for a particular religious community and their ownership belongs to the entire community, not private ownership. Therefore, the Pepe family has no right whatsoever to auction them because they do not belong to their private possession in the first place. Does that make any sense? Now, this was India's claim. But legally speaking, the matter was a little bit complicated. Why? Legal grey areas. First of all, property status. Pepe's family claims that Pepe excavated on land allotted to him by the British government, okay, and held privately by his family for 127 years. Pepe family says that this was excavated from the land that belonged to them. It was their private property and it has been in family possessions for 127 years. Now that we have decided to auction it, now you are saying it belongs to the entire Buddhist community, okay? So they said it was our legal land, it was our legal properties. This thing confuses the entire issue legally speaking. Plus, as per Indian Antiquities and Art Treasure Act of 1972, if there is something that belongs to the entire community, if something is part of cultural heritage, okay, that cannot be possessed as private property. But this law, Indian law, was enacted in 1972. Pepe took this way back in 1898. So India's law also doesn't apply over here because Pepe's family took these sacred relics when British law was enforced. So legally speaking, Pepe's family also had some claim, but ethically, morally, and legally also, partially speaking, India claimed these and India got these. Okay, so this was the entire issue. Okay, now what is the cultural significance of Piprahwa relics? Remember, it was taken from a stupa in Piprahwa. It includes Buddha's relics, immersive display of 88 antiquities, repatriation gallery and model of excavation site, offering historical, archaeological and devotional perspectives. That is why India claimed it. Symbolic messaging. As far as symbolism is concerned, civilizational symbolism is concerned, it belongs to India. Global heritage discourse. Sotheby, the company that was auctioning it, description of the find as among the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of all time. The auctioning company described it as the most significant archaeological discoveries. So we are using that description to say that it belongs to India's cultural heritage. Okay. Sotheby said that this has very high cultural heritage, a very high cultural value, heritage value. Using this, we are claiming it, and we did claim it, and we repatriated it back to India. Okay. Now it is old news. Basically, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, all of this happened. But recently, all these relics, when they were repatriated to India, they were inaugurated recently, like yesterday. So that is why we are discussing it. Okay. That would be all as far as this news item is concerned. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is obtaining passport with criminal cases. Okay. Now look, as per Passports Act, you get a passport. So getting a passport is regulated by Passports Act. Seizing a passport, suspending a passport, all of that is regulated by a law. Now recently there was a case. In that case, well, there was this person who had a passport. Okay. His passport expired, so he went for renewal. Now, there were some pending criminal cases against him. That is why the passport authorities refused to renew his passport. He filed a case in High Court. High Court said, yes, the passport authorities are right. He filed a case in Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said, no, he will get his passport, give him his passport. And this is not legally permissible, what the passport authorities have done. So what legal framework are these guys talking about? The passport authorities and the Supreme Court. We will investigate this, and through this we'll get to know what is the situation, in what conditions you will get your passport back, in what conditions you won't. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. So obtaining passport with criminal cases, and it also involves certain rights like Article 21, right to life. So let's talk about this. Mahesh Kumar Agarwal's ordinary passport, issued in 2013, 10-year validity, faced renewal denial despite court permissions due to pending cases. The case was NIA, National Investigation Agency's extortion case in Jharkhand and suspended CPI coal block conviction. There were various serious cases against him. Regional Passport Office refused to renew his passport under Section 6, Clause 2, Subclause F of Passport Act 1967. So remember this law, that issuance of passport, suspension of passport, everything related to passports of Indian citizen is regulated as per this law. Remember this law. Now, what is the legal framework? Okay. So, Passports Act 1967 mandates refusal on specific grounds. You can refuse to renew or give passport on certain grounds. Those are mentioned in Passports Act. Section 6, Clause 2E, for convictions involving moral turpitude. Okay. So, if you are convicted of certain offense, cases are not pending, cases have reached finality, you are convicted for an offense for which the punishment is more than 2 years. Section 6, Clause 2, Subclause F, for pending criminal proceedings. If you're not convicted but criminal proceedings, criminal cases are pending against you, then also passport authorities can suspend your, refuse your passport renewal. Okay. And using this, Section 6, passport authorities refused passport for Mahesh Kumar Agarwal. Section 5 requires reasoned written orders for refusal. If you are refusing someone's passport, you have to give written order explaining the reasons. Section 7-8 allows short-term passports or extensions. Okay. But as per all these things, Section 6, Section 5, Section 7, Section 8, passport authorities are within their rights to refuse to renew the passports. Right? But then here comes the twist. And this twist was used in Supreme Court arguments, in Supreme Court. Section 10 empowers revocation if proceedings pending or conditions violated. This is there. This is the area where Mahesh Kumar Agarwal got his passport from Supreme Court. Okay. Section 22 exempts persons with pending cases if court grants permission after application of mind and applicant furnishes undertaking. So, passport authorities cannot refuse the passport if this person under section 22 took approval from court by citing an undertaking. Okay, by citing an undertaking, if court gives an order that yes, issue him a passport, it will be issued, even if there are pending criminal cases against them. Okay, Ministry of External Affairs 2019 OM mandates court NOC precedence over police adverse reports. This line means that as per Ministry of External Affairs, if court has given a permission, that permission is higher than pending criminal cases launched by the police. If court gives the permission, that trumps everything. So Mahesh Kumar Agarwal took the permission of the court, that is the Supreme Court. Now, what are the key legal principles involved in this? So Supreme Court used these key legal principles to say that this passport should be given. Okay, distinction between passport, civil document, and foreign travel regulated activity. So Supreme Court said that look, pending cases are there are cases, criminal cases pending against this person, and the reason why you are refusing him a passport is that you are afraid that pending cases are going on against him and this person can escape to a different country and never come back. So you can't give him a punishment. That is what you are afraid of. That is why you're not giving him a passport. Well, passport and foreign travel are two different things. So give him his passport, okay, renew his passport, but yes, tell him that he cannot leave the country until the cases are finalized. Passport and foreign travel are two different things. For foreign travel, you require visa, and for visa, you require NOC, no objection certificate from the authorities. Block his NOC when he wants to travel, okay, but give him his passport. You're not giving him his passport because you're afraid he will escape. Make sure he doesn't escape, but give him his passport, okay. Under Article 21, this is right to free movement is his fundamental right under Article 21. You cannot restrict it, okay. Freedom to move, travel, pursue livelihood belongs to Article 21. Procedural safeguards cannot harden into indefinite exclusion, risking constitutional balance. They said travel restrictions can be applied till the time cases are pending, but you cannot take away his right to move freely, okay. Court NOCs prevail over police reports. That if court gives the permission, police reports, pending cases, nothing would matter. Okay, so this is the thing. Just remember Passport Act 1967. All right. Okay. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is India's PRAGATI framework. Now look, the biggest complaint as far as infrastructure development in India is concerned is that the projects, road, bridge, electricity projects, these infrastructure projects are not completed on time. And the reason why they're not completed on time is because of bureaucratic red tape, bureaucratic inefficiency, bureaucratic approvals. So to fast track this, remove these inefficiencies, well, government created PRAGATI platform. On that PRAGATI platform, online digital portal, all infrastructure projects would be listed, and every month, okay, every month, Prime Minister, Union Secretaries, Union IS officers, State IS officers will have a meeting basically discussing all of this, that why this project is delayed, why this project is not being approved. Everything would be on PRAGATI platform. So it was a digital initiative to fast track implementation of projects, right? Now, as per the latest meeting of PRAGATI under PRAGATI platform of Prime Minister, Union Secretaries and State Secretaries, 50th meeting under PRAGATI, well, it was cited that 1/3 of projects, infrastructure projects, are delayed because of land acquisition issues. Okay, so this was in the news, but we will focus on PRAGATI platform. What is it? What is its significance? All of that, because questions can be asked from this part. Okay, so let's discuss this. So India's PRAGATI framework. What was in the news? More than 1/3 of infrastructure projects related issues raised under PRAGATI, the full form is proactive governance and timely implementation, are due to land acquisition problems. Okay, so this was in the news, but let's focus on PRAGATI. So about PRAGATI, remember the full form. Proactive governance and timely implementation is an information and communication technology, ICT-based multimodal platform launched by PM Modi in March 2015 to monitor projects, programs, grievances via real-time stakeholder interaction. Who are the stakeholders? The IS officers who are involved in implementation of these projects. Okay. It promotes proactive governance, timely project execution, e-transparency, e-accountability through direct sight from PM, oversight. It addresses common citizens' complaints, reviews key central state projects, and resolves bottlenecks. Why the project is delayed? What is holding it back? Via integrate data from CPgrams, PMG, e-Samiksha. There are sub-portals within Pragati. It fosters Team India collaboration because center, states, and PM are collaborating together, breaking bureaucratic silos and accelerating infrastructure projects. Okay. Now, there is three-tier architecture to Pragati. Okay. PMO, union secretaries, state chief secretaries. They would meet fourth Wednesday every month. This is known as the Pragati Day. So PM would meet these people, these IS officers who are involved in infrastructure projects every month. Okay. So direct oversight from PM. Video conferencing, digital dashboards, geospatial analytics, drone feeds to analyze the project real time. All of this is bundled into this platform. Stakeholders submit updates within 3 days. If PM sees that this project is not working in Chhattisgarh, he would flag issues and he would assign accountability. So it's a very good initiative from top down. Clear? Yeah, so these are some of the key achievements of this project. So go through this, okay? And now let's move on to last news item of the day, and that is Purchasing Managers Index. So Purchasing Managers Index is an index that measures manufacturing activity and services activity and combined manufacturing plus services activity. Now there are various indicators that measure economic activity. For example, GDP, Index of Industrial Production. These are called economic indicators. Now some economic indicators are released by the government. Some economic indicators are released by private companies. Purchasing Managers Index is an index that is released by a private company. So remember this, government doesn't release PMI, private companies do. But PMI is a very important economic indicator to measure the performance of manufacturing sector and services sector. Okay, now recent data on PMI reveals that India's manufacturing activity is at a 2-year low. This is not good news for India's manufacturing. So we will talk about this news that India's manufacturing has slowed down, but we'll mostly focus on Purchasing Managers Index. So let's talk about this, okay? So Purchasing Managers Index. So what was in the news? According to the survey report, the seasonally adjusted HSBC India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, eased to 55 from 56.6, signaling the weakest improvement in the health of the manufacturing sector in 2 years. Okay, now let's focus on PMI. What is PMI? So PMI is a key leading economic indicator derived from monthly surveys of private sector purchasing managers. So managers of private companies, signaling expansion or contraction in manufacturing and services activity. So it is a survey-based index. Survey is conducted, questions are asked to these different managers of private companies, and based on their answers, an index is calculated for the entire manufacturing sector, entire services sector combined. Okay. PMI measures changes in business perceptions across key variables compared to the previous month, providing early insights into economic health. Because GDP data, IIP data is delayed. PMI provides quick data. Now, this index is basically a score from 0 to 100. If the score is greater than 50, that means manufacturing activity is expanding. If it is less than 50, that means manufacturing activity is contracting. Okay? And 50 signals no change. Now, this helps policymakers, investors, RBI assess economic situation. Now, remember, this index is not calculated by the government, it is calculated by a private company. Which private company? S&P Global, which was called IHS Market, compiles and releases separate manufacturing PMI, services PMI, and composite PMI every month. So it is released by S&P Global, okay, number 1. It is released every month, number 2. And 3 indices are released, okay. PMI for manufacturing sector is released separately. PMI for services sector is released separately. PMI for combined, both manufacturing and services, is released separately. So 3 indices are released. Okay. Now you remember I told you that questions are asked, survey is conducted. Okay. Now, questions are based on these 5 metrics. So, the economic activity is just judged based on these 5 indicators. Now, what are these indicators? How many new orders that company is getting. That means how much demand is there for their product. This has 30% weight in the index. What is the output, production of that company? 25% weight. How many people are they employing? Employment has grown or reduced? 20%. Suppliers delivery. Raw material delivery is being done to them on time? 15%. And stocks of purchases. Okay. How much stock inventory is left? So these are the variables on which the questions are asked. Based on their response, score is given, and then a weighted average is taken out and index value is released from 0 to 100. Okay. Now, there is manufacturing PMI, services PMI, composite PMI. Okay. That's it. That's about it. That's all you need to know as far as PMI is also concerned. So with that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you are consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. So in the hope that you're going to do that, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.